Welcome to the Good Call Ministries podcast. My name is Mary, the daughter of Bondarenko. In today's episode, I'm sitting with my sister Vera.
Hello.
And we will be covering on what's happening in Ukraine. We'll be sharing some amazing stories of lives being changed. We'll tell you about the opportunities, how to get involved, and how to help today. And we'll also answer some questions that came from you. So Vera, let's begin.
Thank you, Mary. It is my joy to be with you today and talk about something that is really close to our hearts. And first of all, war is always tragic. And tragedy of war is a result of our sinful world, our broken world without Christ. And as we approaching Christmas season, it is just so heavy on our hearts that people in Ukraine, people that we love, people that we care for, are suffering tremendously. And oftentimes in the mornings, I would get up and just say, thank you, God, for this peaceful sky above my head, and that we can enjoy not only peaceful sky, but a beautiful Californian weather, which is warm, and just thinking of thousands and even millions of people that are in a cold and dark winter right now. Cold because of the freezing temperature, and dark because of the loss of lives, but also dark because there are outages of electricity all over Ukraine today. And as we enjoy warmth and peaceful skies, we certainly reflect on all of the blessings that we have, and that the blessing that God gives us, that we are to share with others. And today I was just recalling some memories of my childhood, and it actually goes back to our grandparents and also our father. They talked about Second World War, and they shared stories and how they lived through those times. And our dad was an 8-year-old boy when war broke out in Ukraine, and in million years, or he would not have thought that in his lifetime, he's 85 today, he would see a second war in Ukraine. It is absolutely horrific, and people are suffering. People are isolated oftentimes. They have no help from anybody. Houses are in ruins, just rumbles. They don't have a place to go. They don't have people to turn to. And that's where Christian and people that care for those who are suffering come and help. So we are blessed to have been able to really care for people this year, and coming from a Ukrainian background as Ukrainians and loving on our people is just wonderful.
It is, and I want to add, you talked about childhood, and I want to add about the brutal winter conditions that we've been through. And I remember sleeping in a cold house, and every morning it was a dread to wake up and understand that you're facing another cold day. And just for a second, just trying to relate to people in Ukraine at the moment. But again, the sounds of sirens, the potential bombings, the attacks that can happen any minute brings so much uncertainty to people, where it's not just the cold, but it's everything else combined. And at the same time, I'm happy that there is hope that is served up every day to people, and through help of churches and other families and organizations, people are not just being fed physically, but they're fed spiritually, and they're coming to Jesus. And I know we have some good stories to share and to cover maybe a little bit more of our work that we've done and opportunities that we have at the moment. So one of the stories I can share is recently came from one of the pastors, Sasha, that we work with, and his church is right outside Kiev, just about 30 minutes. And he said that they're working on setting up a heating point And that's another part where we're involved. And I love that with help of so many of our supporters, we were able to send what we can to start setting up this heating point in his area. And he shared a story that a 17-year-old boy came to church and brought a lot of his friends. But the story with him is that he's never been to church before, and he never wanted to go to church. But in these circumstances, he's heard that there is a place where he can get warm, he can get a sandwich, a hot drink, tea, coffee, whatever they're serving that day, and get involved. He decided to give it a try, and he came, and he's very social. He loves being around people, so he liked it, and he started bringing his friends. And on the recent day or recent activity day, he came in an hour early, and he cleaned up the whole front yard from the snow.
Wow.
And he did that on his own. He just said that I'll be there earlier to do that. And it's just so encouraging to hear that in the midst of the sadness that people are living in, they're finding hope and purpose. And at the same time, I'm happy that we can be those hands and feet of Jesus in times like this.
Well, yes, absolutely. There are tons of stories, and I think that is beautiful to see amidst all of the loss and horrors of war, that God always creates beauty from ashes. And as we just started our work for Ukrainian people from day one of this war in February of this year, little did we know how much God would go before us and expand the work that we are doing and expand with each coming day. And there are stories that create or that are told today to just really see the beauty of God amidst sufferings and amidst so much mourning, loss, grief, unexplained tragedies. God spurs hope in people's heart. And I'm so blessed that we as a family, as a ministry, can be that hope and bring the light amid so much suffering right now, because Ukrainian people are beautiful. They have suffered tremendously throughout the years, and their spirit is strong despite the fact that they're being bombed and attacked on a daily basis. And with all uncertainty that is facing them ahead, we know God is still in control, that God is a loving God, and He brings hope, and He gives light, and He gives eternal life. God cares for people. And this is our message for our Ukrainian people, that God loves you despite the fact there is so much evil that is being done in this world. But knowing Him and knowing His light, it brightens your future, and it gives you not only hope, but everlasting life with Jesus. And today, seeing so many kids, seeing so many teenagers and young people come to church, come to listen to the message of hope.
And not just coming, but finding Christ.
Finding Christ, finding salvation. And amidst this suffering, people receiving joy of heaven, joy of being with Jesus once this life is over. So in a way, just in the regular circumstances, these people or these kids and teenagers would not want to church.
They would not.
So God, even in allowing this suffering, He molds us, shapes us, and gives us opportunity to get to know Him, and with Him, the abundance of life that He only can provide. I know that we have seen so many friends and people that we worked with before in Ukraine, our trusted contacts and volunteers, and the loss of their loved ones. But one story that I want to share today is the story of Daniel and Ksenia. It's a younger couple in their 30s, early 30s, I believe. And Daniel was a pastor, and Ksenia is a pastor's wife, and Daniel was died helping others in Poltava region. And it's incredibly that we had just started supporting their church, and in about, I don't know, maybe within a month or less, he had just gone to be with the Lord, and his wife is strong in the Lord, and she is continuing to shine the light for their two children, Emma, I believe 5, and also Daniel 2. And she not only is she able to go through her grief and mourning and loss of her beautiful husband with hope, but she also is giving so much hope to other people. She is ministering. She is constantly doing something, transporting people, feeding people. And God put early on, as we heard this news, put it on our hearts to support her. And I want to thank all of people that have contributed to this ministry, so your love could go far and beyond in helping widows and also helping children that are suffering more than even adults, because they're just growing and they have been deprived of their childhood and joys and just simple things in life. So just to be a part of that brings so much joy to my heart and to the heart of our family, and to be able to share those stories of God's unprecedented love, even for Ksenia and her deceased husband. Now, she just said it was a miracle of God that help, tangible help, came to my family without any expectation, and how God continues to cover for her kids, and also for her church, or their church. And she continues to minister to women. She does Sunday school classes, and also she's a director of women's ministry in their church. So it's just one of the thousands of stories that we receive on a daily basis, how God is moving amidst the tragedy, but he is moving, bringing hope, love, and hope of Jesus to the hearts of Ukrainian people.
Yes, like you said, thousands of stories, and I wish we had so much time, to share each one of them, because they're all so beautiful. And going back to Ksenia, she is also setting up a heating point in her apartment. And she's opening her tiny little place to people that want to come hear about Jesus, that want to just have a fellowship, is something to eat if it's available that day. So she's also working on equipping her place to be that shining light for people in the darkness, literally speaking.
Yes, because mostly throughout Ukraine, electricity outages are very common these days. And I'm hearing, or we are hearing from a lot of people, that it's just only 4 hours a day people get electricity. Just imagine, 4 hours a day.
It's not even
a
guaranteed.
Freezing temperature. Of course it's not guaranteed, and it makes life already so difficult. I just can't imagine. I mean, we can relate, because we grew up in our homeland where we had electricity outages, where we didn't have heat in our home, when we felt it was so freezing. And that fills our heart with even more burden for our people that are being so left alone oftentimes, and the need for, ever-growing need for equipping, churches and communities, and even separate families, just with needed resources for generators and things like that. Yeah, so we're so blessed to be able to work alongside of them.
Yes, amen to that. Another exciting news that we have is the second mobile kitchen that we were able to bring to Poltava region, which is the central part of Ukraine. And our goal is to partner with different organizations, companies who want to support the people of Ukraine. And we started this project, the second project, back in November. And I am happy to report that our volunteers are working 5 days a week. They're feeding people from morning to nighttime, and people in the city know that they can come and get free food, a hot meal. And on the average daily, we distribute about 3,000 hot meals. So multiply that by 5 days, that's 15,000 portions of food that people can get for free, not even counting drinks and fruits that we're able to give out.
And other necessities.
And necessities, yes. So we're praising God for giving us this opportunity to bring not just the good news of the gospel, but also a hot meal into their hands.
Yeah, I would say along with the good news of the gospel and hope of Christ, we bring tangible gifts with certainly with all of your support and love that you poured into our ministry and our people. Because today churches are those organizations that are really caring for people in Ukraine, and not only setting up heating points because it's very cold, but also just providing emotional support for children, teenagers, because their schools are online primarily, and with electricity outages, it makes it even more harder for kids to concentrate and to study. So we see a lot of things happening with children, and we're so blessed that those pastors that we support and churches are able to provide not only activities for kids, but give them stories of the Bible, and also give them purpose, give them something to look forward to, and engage them in helping one another, training them, and also giving some, fun times, such as summer camps that they did. Also, even sharing some kind of candies with them, or tea, which they love. I think with talking about kids, what comes to mind is this Hope Cards project that we have been doing throughout this year. And what it is that we ask American families engage their kids and show tangibly love towards the Ukrainian kids. And they sat together and did or decorated cards for Ukraine with messages.
Yes,
and
with a hope message.
And something else that was very important and well received was the amount from $10 to $20 inserted in this hope messages. So it's not only the love expressed in words, but it's the love that is expressed in action. And a lot of families, especially mothers and single mothers, those of orphaned kids, have really praised this project and sent us heartfelt thank you for encouraging children, because children are oftentimes overlooked, especially during war times, because adults are trying to cope with loss, cope with lost incomes, cope of lost homes, and discomfort that they're feeling every single day. So children are not given as much attention as they would receive on a regular basis. So therefore, for children to come and say, we love you, we pray for you, there are children in America that think of you, but also here it is, $10, $15, or $20 that will help you get something you want. Maybe just this chocolate, or I don't know, maybe a little toy.
Well, it's not just something. $10, $15, $20 goes a really long way in Ukraine. And maybe for some kids in America, it's not a big deal to carry $10 in their pocket, but for a kid in Ukraine, it can be life-changing. And one of the videos that were received when kids were opening these cards and the money was flying out on the floor, I remember one mom exclaiming, saying, "That's your first $10 towards something," and I can't remember what it was. So just even that moment was
exactly. It was all worth.
I know I said we're not going to cry, but we're like crying for half of this podcast already.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But it was just so touching, and I wish that every kid in America that made a card would see that video and relate to it and see that they made a difference in someone's life overseas.
Yeah, because as for Christians specifically, the Bible encourages us not to forget to do good and also to share with others. And sharing with others this season specifically, when we celebrate the light of Christmas, who is Jesus himself, let us not forget to share with others the blessings that we have, because we see the results and we see a lot of joyful feedback from people that had no hope but received hope because somebody loved and cared for them. And just going back to hope cards, I can say that it's just reminiscent of my childhood, when our father was taken away from us and was imprisoned for his faith as a believer in the Soviet Union. And I remember those Christian people around the world who really cared for our family. They wrote cards not only to our dad, that sometimes really even reached him in prison, but also to our family. And we were just kids that needed somebody's love apart from our mom.
Encouragement.
And a little bit of encouragement, because when you're under constant pressure, and these people in Ukraine are beloved people, kids, children, teenagers, young people, they're under tremendous pressure and fear. And when you have somebody across the Atlantic Ocean that cares and loves, it's very meaningful. So we're thankful for every family that did those hope cards, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that in times like this, it's so awesome for them to receive something for themselves, not for the family, not just a hot meal, but a personal card and a message to them. I remember when our brother Daniel and we were in Ukraine when the war started, the sound of sirens that are going off randomly, it doesn't matter if it's day or nighttime, it just catches you off guard, and you're realizing this might be your last minute, hour, day. You live with so much uncertainty, but if you know that God is with you, it brings you peace in the midst of that stressful situation. So just imagine kids and families who have to live through that on the daily. And again, a message of hope that we can bring from America with the help of our supporters.
Yeah, and let's not forget specifically all of the friends, trusted contacts, pastors,
yes.
volunteers that are risking their lives and
On
putting
the
their
daily.
on a daily basis. And a lot of pastors that we work with, they even let their families go abroad and be safe, but stayed behind for many, many months ministering alone without support of their wives, of their families. And we are so thankful for these people that carry the light of Jesus to the dark situation of other people, but also providing and risking everything to provide just necessities sometimes, to evacuate people from war zones and hotspots and then bring them to safety. And just from the beginning of this war, God has given a vision to our brother that we need to take care of not only children and orphans, but also the elderly.
Yes, the elderly.
And I'm so grateful for that, because those people who are of our background and descent know that in Ukraine and other Slavic countries, elderly people oftentimes are left behind. And imagine those high-story buildings and apartments, and they were literally trapped in their apartments without food, without water. And God really prompted it in our hearts to start moving quickly. And we were able, with certainly the help of many of you, to obtain transportation first, and secondly, ambulances. We obtained a number of ambulances that were able to carry handicapped and elderly with their needs and to take them to safety. It just blessed our hearts, and the reports that we receive, and just joy on their hearts, being able to be in a safe place. It was just tremendous, and it's really hard to put into words when you see the world changed for just one soul. You know, their situation changed because we were able to bring that support to them when it was so much needed. And There's just so many things.
Yes, there's so much we can talk about,
Indeed,
but
so.
we need to also address some of the questions that we received. And I know that one of the questions was we covered what it's like on the ground in Ukraine, and also one of the questions was about finances and what it is like to donate to Good Call and how the finances are distributed. And I know there's been a question, important question that came from many people and sources, because I've heard personally from friends that have donated. They said they've donated to some big organizations, but later they've learned that most of the money is distributed between or among the employees and their own expenses, and only a small portion really goes to a certain cause. So for them, it was heartbreaking that they've put this money aside for good, but instead of making it to a certain place, it was distributed elsewhere. So for us, we can say that finances are
we value accountability.
Accountability, thank
Yes.
you, because for us it's important that all the finances are getting to Ukraine. Not that they're somewhere up in the air and no one knows where they are.
Yes.
For us, we want to know where our money is going, and up to this day, we can say where the 99% of the money is going, who is receiving it, and how it's distributed. And God has been so good by sending just amazing and right people our way that we work with. And we have reports, we have all the accounts, everything from Ukraine. So love that we can be transparent in regards to the finances, and just know that every dollar that you donate, it goes directly to the people of Ukraine. Either it's the pastors that we're supporting, individual families, helping to rebuild homes, feeding people. All of it goes to the people in Ukraine, and we're so thankful for that.
Yes, because despite the fact that a lot of money is going to Ukraine, as you said, we don't really know where they're going.
Yes.
And common people that are oftentimes in so much need are overlooked.
Yes.
And not only do we support over 40 pastors in Ukraine, in the Poltava region, it's also Kiev region and other places, but we also want to be, and always trying to be, very sensitive to the needs of people individually. And in particular, there are so many growing needs with 8 months of war or even more, that it's hard to address every need. But I'm so thankful that our parents and our ministry, our parents have taught us to be very sensitive to every person that God sends your way.
Yes.
and pray and discern how to help that person. And I'm so grateful that apart from, as I say, many different and big churches and organizations that we partnered with, we were able to just come and help little families and just regular people that reached out to hundreds of organizations, but were never able to get any real help or support just for basics such as food and hygiene products and so on. So very grateful for that as well.
Yes, and another exciting update is another container that we were able to obtain made it to Ukraine and has been already distributed to churches and people in need. And after receiving photos and videos of that container being delivered to Poltava region and then being distributed to churches and people in need, it just gives you that great sense in the way of satisfaction that we receive money from our faithful supporters. We put it to good use and we see results. We see results, and we see people that are being literally saved by these goats that were delivered. And another way of how people can get involved is to donate towards these containers. We are in a position to obtain a few of them at the moment, and if we have enough people that want to pitch in, anything they want, or even the kids, that are looking how to help someone this Christmas. They can put in their $5-10 towards it, and it makes a difference for us because we can quicker collect that money and send another container. And we're talking each container is worth up to $200,000, which is
you mean the goods?
The goods, yes, yes. So if you have it on your heart to participate in our container fundraiser, just pray about it, think about it, and see if you would like to partner with us on that and bring another container or maybe 2 or 3 to the people of Ukraine, and especially to the kids who are longing for a new jacket or longing for a new toy to play with. And for us, it's again a blessing to be a part of this, that we can be that ministry that brings hope, brings goods, brings food, and other things, to people in Ukraine. So if you don't mind, Vera, I would like to just maybe give a quick, maybe in short, just list of the things that we were able to do in the last 8 months in our work in Ukraine. We've acquired multiple ambulances and vehicles, including bulletproof transportation, rescued handicapped and elderly, what you mentioned earlier, supported orphanages, partnered with local and international organizations to strengthen our network of support. We also helped refugee centers in Poland, and Daniel and I were able to visit those centers as well personally. We secured a storage facility, supplied hospital-grade medications, vitamins, personal hygiene kits, essentials, clothing, baby formula, toys, multiple mobile kitchens, organized events for children, which
and supported bakeries to bake bread.
Yes, and but children events is probably another podcast on its own.
Yeah, for sure.
On another episode, I meant. Organized a faithful team of volunteers in multiple regions, funded surgeries in critical conditions, helped rebuild homes after bombings, feeding people, supported local bakeries like you mentioned, and we gave out bread for free. Yes. And over 4,000 of Hope cards were distributed to the kids across Ukraine, and financially supporting more than 40 pastors on a monthly basis. And all of this was possible because of your support and your participation in our ministry.
Yes, and we invite you today to come alongside of us and those who have been faithfully contributing this year. We are grateful from the bottom of our hearts, and we bring that gratefulness to you from the people of Ukraine. And we also invite you to continue to provide for their needs. And as you celebrate Christmas this year, would you please consider giving to our ministry? And your gifts are all tax deductible, and we would be happy to provide information for you. But you can go to our website, and it's www.goodcallministries.org, and get more information, and also can donate on our webpage.
Well, Vera, thank you for joining me on this episode, and I'm looking forward to what God has in store for our ministry and for the people in Ukraine. And of course, we're continuing to pray for people every day. We're encouraging our kids and the family, and I'm encouraging all of you and children and young adults, including, please pray for children and for people in general in Ukraine, that in this time of suffering, God will come through in a way that they've never maybe thought or expected, and give them heavenly peace.
Yes, we'll all pray for peace and for joy in their hearts.
Thank you. And if you would like, subscribe to our podcast, and we'll be posting more episodes on Ukraine, the work that we're doing,
And stories.
And stories, yes. And we'll be sharing much more from what I've said earlier today, from basically each category of the work that we've done in Ukraine. We want to bring you photos, videos, and stories that we received. We want to share that joy with you as well.
Yes, and just to add to that, I would say that we at Good Call Ministries and we as a family, we're all volunteers. We do it from the bottom of our hearts for the love of God, because He wants us to share the love of His with the whole world. And this is the purpose of our living. This is the purpose of our ministering for His kingdom, because we want to bring more people with us into God's kingdom. Amen. And for them not to perish, but have everlasting life and joy of heaven.
Yes. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.